She discovered an amazing secret when she jumped into a stranger's arms. He was a millionaire in disguise. Just when Sarah Matthews thought life couldn't rain harder, the storm pounded down, reflecting the tumult inside her. At 25, she juggled a heavy load after her father's sudden death left her family in tatters. Nights at the diner were filled with the clattering of plates and tired smiles, a soundtrack to her struggle, but the threat of corporate giants looming over her hometown stung deeply. As the downpour turned streets into shimmering rivers, Sarah felt the individual raindrops like weights on her shoulders. She served meals with a numbness, her thoughts consumed by her mother's constant worry, and her younger brother's innocent dreams. The diner, once a haven, was becoming a fading memory, much like the happiness she once felt. She wiped a tear, mixing it with the rain, wishing for anything to change that miserable night, and then in a whirlwind of impulse, she leaped into the arms of a man sitting alone at the corner booth. Ethan Hale. The world around her faded as she locked eyes with him. His surprise turned to intrigue, and for a moment, the weight of her burdens lifted. Something crackled between them, like the electric spark of hope igniting in her heart. In the days that followed, their friendship blossomed. Ethan was warm, genuine, and they shared laughter over greasy fries and milkshakes. But every time she felt herself drawn toward him, a shadow of doubt crept in. Why would someone like him, handsome and kind, take interest in a struggling waitress like her? She carried her pride, her struggles as armor against vulnerability. Torn between this affable stranger and her loyalty to her fading community weighed heavily each day. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But just as their worlds seemed to entwine, misunderstandings flared. Sarah overheard Ethan discussing his plans and what seemed like a mocking flirtation with the diner's fate. Heart racing, she confronted him, lashing out with fierce indignation. "You don't get it," she yelled, hurt reflecting in her eyes. Each word dripped with resentment, echoing her doubts about someone trying to help when her world felt so precarious. As the town's annual fair approached, hope flickered like the fading firefly light. Families gathered, laughter echoed, and the night promised fireworks that felt alive with possibilities. But as Sarah prepared to confront her fears, a sudden realization washed over her. Ethan, standing there among the colorful stalls, was one of them, fighting for the people, not against them. Just as she felt a sense of connection once more spark between them, a clap of thunder rumbled overhead, a symbol of their looming conflict. Caught amid the cheers and chaos, Sarah's heart raced with uncertainty. Would Ethan understand her struggles? Could trust weave their worlds together? As fireworks ignited the sky in a magnificent burst of colors, she saw the crowd's reactions reflecting their own judgments, leaving her standing in the eye of the storm with her heart teetering between faith and fear. Disguise, but the truth she had yet to uncover might cost her everything. Sarah stood at the edge of the fairgrounds, fireworks exploding above her like brilliant flowers lighting up the night sky. Each blast brought with it a rush of memories of simpler times, a reminder that joy could still exist even when everything felt out of her control. Yet beneath the dazzling colors, her heart was heavy with worry. Ethan moved through the crowd with an ease that charmed those around him. Sarah watched, a wash of conflict tightening in her chest. The laughter that bubbled up from families around her felt distant. The happiness they found in simple things felt as foreign as a distant star. She wanted to reach out and connect, but doubt anchored her feet to the ground. "Hey!" Ethan spotted her amid the crowd and waved, his smile lighting up the dark like the fireworks above. When he approached, she felt her breath catch, torn between her need to pull him close and the nagging fear that his world would swallow her whole. "Wow, these fireworks are incredible, right?" Ethan exclaimed, his eyes bright. "Yeah, they are," Sarah managed to reply, though her mind raced in a different direction. "Hey, about what I said. Let us forget about that for tonight," he urged, sensing the tension in her voice. "Look at how beautiful this is." But no matter how alluring the night seemed, Sarah couldn't let go of her worries. She needed to talk about the diner, their struggles, and the looming threat of the corporate chain that wanted to erase everything she loved. Among the lights and laughter, her heart remained heavy. "I just wish," she started, but the words tangled in her throat. "I know it's hard," Ethan whispered, leaning closer. The warmth of his presence was inviting, promising, but it also ignited an uncertainty that churned within her. His sincerity was palpable, yet she fought against the idea that a millionaire could ever truly understand the weight on her shoulders. Fireworks lit up the sky again, but instead of celebrating, Sarah felt entangled in her own thoughts. Suddenly, the "it's like something will change" optimism flickered within her. What if he's not just a distraction? Bubbled up inside her head. What if he could help? Then her phone buzzed, slicing through the moment. It was her mother, reminding her of the diner's struggle as a new delivery truck rolled into town, one from a chain they couldn't compete with. The smile on Sarah's face faltered instantly. Her heart sank with each word she read, piercing into the connection emerging between her and Ethan. "Sarah." Ethan's voice pulled her back. "Is everything okay?" "No," she said, feeling raw. "I need to go." "Wait," he called, reaching for her hand, but the contact flared memories of arguments and miscommunication. Her palms tingled with anxiety and she pulled away. "I can't do this, Ethan." "Do what?" he pleaded, his concern etched on his face. "Be caught between you and in everything else." The vulnerability in her voice surprised even herself. "Look, I'm on your side," he replied, frustration creeping into his tone. "But how can you be sure unless we communicate?" The night felt like a fragile balancing act. Heart beating faster, Sarah took a step back, realizing that every second in his presence whispered promises and potential, but also risks she wasn't sure she could afford to take. Silence grew heavy between them, a towering wall of unspoken fears and hidden desires. She wrapped her arms around herself, her heart calling for clarity while her mind screamed to protect what little ground she had as the last of the fireworks dwindled into the night sky. Sarah knew she had to make a decision that could change everything. But could she trust Ethan enough to break down those barriers? Uncertainty pulled at her, and as she turned to flee, glancing over her shoulder for a final glimpse of him, she wondered if that chance had slipped away forever. Would she seize the moment, or let her doubts keep her shackled? Tomorrow would bring its own storm, one far more formidable than tonight. A small town looking to make a difference. The air felt different the next day. Each breath Sarah took was charged with anticipation, a mix of uncertainty and hope that set her heart racing. She had thought about the diner all night, tossing and turning in her bed, the vibrant colors of the fireworks replaying in her mind, accompanied by Ethan's unmistakable smile. As she headed to the diner for her morning shift, the sun peeked through the clouds, casting a warm glow across the pavement. But the weight of her responsibilities loomed larger than ever. Flickers of doubt nagged at her as she passed the delivery truck parked in front, the new corporate chain symbol, cold and impersonal. "Morning, Sarah." Betty, her coworker, greeted her with a warm smile. The scent of freshly brewed coffee and sizzling bacon wafted through the air, and for a moment, the familiar sounds of clinking dishes and chatter eased her anxious mind. "Morning, Betty," Sarah replied, forcing a smile as she tied her apron around her waist. "Any news on deliveries today?" "The usual," Betty answered, glancing out the window. "But from what I hear, they're not taking on just the big jobs. They're moving up their game to steal our customers." Sarah's heart sank further. The conversation from last night with Ethan echoed loudly in her head. Could he really help her turn this around? She thought of his charm, his ambition, and how he seemed genuinely eager to be part of something more than his world of wealth. "Earth to Sarah." Betty waved a hand in front of her face, pulling her back to the moment. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just thinking about Ethan." Betty smirked. "You're really gonna make me pry, aren't you?" "Not now," Sarah chuckled lightly, shaking her head, but she felt the warmth spread from the thought of him. "Fine," Betty said dramatically, rolling her eyes but smiling. "Just remember, you need to focus on us before you get lost in some whirlwind romance." Right. The diner, the community, her family. It was all that mattered. She slipped behind the counter, pouring coffee and filling orders, but her mind wandered. Each laugh and story shared among the regulars felt bittersweet memories of the diner she loved so much, threatened by encroaching change. Suddenly, a familiar figure strode through the door and time seemed to freeze. Ethan stood there, casually handsome, his eyes searching the room until they locked onto hers. A storm of emotions raced through Sarah: joy, fear, disbelief. "Hey," he said, making his way to the counter. "I hope it's not too much of a distraction that I'm here." The other customers looked over, intrigued by this newcomer. Sarah's heart raced. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" "I had to see you," he admitted, genuine warmth breaking through the surrounding tension. "I wanted to talk about last night, about the diner." The smile on her face faded instantly as reality crashed back. "You don't understand. We're fighting against Goliath here. I don't know if you can do anything to help." "I know. I've been thinking," he said, stepping closer, his voice low but firm. "What if I tell you I want to invest? Not just as a favor, but because I believe in what you're doing?" His words hit her like a wave, each syllable probing deeper into the core of her doubts. Invest? Was this really a lifeline or just another way to complicate her life? The others in the diner were watching, whispers spilling through the tables, their faces lit with curiosity. "Ethan," she stammered, uncertainty washing over her. "I don't want to intrude, okay? But it's important to me and I think it could save the diner." His gaze was steady, willing her to see what he saw. Every part of her screamed to say yes, but a flicker of deep-rooted fear held her back. She was terrified of what it would mean, what it could cost her. "And if it doesn't work?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I can take that risk if you can." In that moment, Sarah faced the looming storm head-on, at the crest of all her confusion and longing. The diner, her life, her heart all balanced on a knife's edge. "Okay," she breathed, but doubt still flickered in her chest. "But you need to understand this isn't just a business. It's everything to me." "I understand that." Ethan's response was steady, resolute. "And I'm in this with you no matter what happens." With the weight of the decision hanging between them, Sarah felt a rush of something new, hope. But was it enough to transform the uncertainty into something solid? As she met his gaze, one question loomed. Could she let someone in, or would her walls come crashing down with her diner? Tomorrow was still uncertain, and the next hurdle stood ready before her. But was she ready to face it? Disguise. The diner buzzed with energy, but in that moment, it felt like an island of silence just for Sarah and Ethan. Her heart pounded louder than the clinking of plates, echoing in her ears as she processed the weight of his offer. "You can back out anytime, Ethan," she finally said, searching his face for answers. She wanted reassurance, clarity, a glimmer of light in the chaos swirling around her. "I won tea," he responded, determination etched in the lines of his face. "I believe in what you're doing here. Your diner feels like home, Sarah. We can make it better together." Even amid the growing anxiety, a shimmer of warmth ignited within her. Memories of laughter, cherished moments shared over greasy plates, the regulars who made each day special, all of it flashed before her eyes. But then the looming shadows of Goliath returned, threatening to swallow it whole. "What if it changes everything?" she asked, the question escaping before she could stop it. "What if we lose what makes this place special?" "It won't change who you are," Ethan replied gently. "It'll help you keep it alive. Perhaps even grow it into something stronger." She felt the room's energy shift, the whispers of her customers growing louder as they continued to watch. Curiosity peaked. The pressure mounted and she felt exposed. But stepping back felt wrong too. "I just need some time to think," she finally murmured, breaking the eye contact accompanied by a wave of insecurity. "Could you sit down with everyone, the regulars? I need them to hear it from you." "Absolutely." Just like that, Ethan embraced her request, shifting to a nearby table where a small crowd had gathered. The distant conversations faded into an organic hum as she began to work again. Every cup filled, every plate served was tinged with the same uncertainty that hung over her. It felt infectious. Still, a flicker of hope glinted in her chest as Ethan spoke to the diners. She made out snippets of what he said, words like community and support. There was respect in his voice, a genuine interest in their stories. Curiosity morphed into something more profound as she watched the regulars lean in, nod, and even laugh. The sight sent a rush of energy through her. Are they warming to him? The spark ignited fresh questions in Sarah's mind about service, about love, about their futures. Could investing in the diner be what they truly needed, or would it risk everything she held dear? By the end of the shift, Sarah found herself reevaluating her fear. As she stacked plates in the dish room, She heard Betty's voice break through her thoughts. Are you really going to go through with this? Betty asked, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed. It's a big deal, Sarah. What's gonna happen if he pulls out? I don't know, Sarah admitted, feeling raw. But maybe, just maybe, we can transform this into something extraordinary. Betty's brow furrowed, concern flooding her features. Just be careful, all right? You know how it is around here. Not everyone is going to be happy with a big new player in town. With a sigh, Sarah nodded, absorbing her friend's caution. But deep down, she felt a lingering thrill at the possibility, an electric excitement that invigorated her spirit even more. Taking a deep breath, she walked back to Ethan, whose energy radiated into the room. Hey, can we talk? She asked, a mix of resolve and vulnerability coloring her tone. Of course, he replied, his eyes sparkling with encouragement. She could see it in the way he stood, grounded yet hopeful. I need your help, not just with investments but with everything. I want to make plans, brainstorm ideas. This can't just be about money, it has to be about people. Let us do it, he said. Together. We can map out strategies that benefit you and the community. Those words wrapped around her heart, binding her fear and determination in one pulse. As they sat together at a corner table, laughter from familiar faces buzzing in the background, a feeling washed over her. Maybe they would create something magical. But in the distance she could still hear whispers about the corporate threat looming over them. The challenges ahead were just beginning, and allowing Ethan, this unseen stranger with big plans, into her world wasn't just a matter of business. It would intertwine their lives in unimaginable ways. As the sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue across the diner, Sarah felt that light shift in her chest. What had she really signed up for? With a mixture of fear and excitement, she knew one thing for certain: together, they were about to step into a whirlwind of risks, secrets, and maybe even a shock that neither of them expected. But what other secrets did Ethan hold? Disguise. The next morning dawned, and the diner was cloaked in a gentle haze of steam rising from coffee pots and sizzling bacon. Sarah set about her routine, pouring cups for the early birds who shuffled in, their faces drawn with sleep but brightened by her familiar smile. The energy felt different today. There was a charge in the air, a hum of possibility. Ethan arrived just as the breakfast rush was starting. He greeted everyone by name, his easy confidence drawing smiles from the regulars. Sarah watched from behind the counter as he engaged with the customers, sharing jokes and stories. There was something infectious about the way he interacted with them, as if he genuinely wanted to be there. Yet, beneath that surface joy, doubt nagged at her. Wouldn't the charm wear off? Good morning, Ethan called out to her, his enthusiasm lighting up the room. He slid onto a stool, leaning close. Ready to brainstorm? Sure, Sarah said, lifting an eyebrow. But what's your vision? You know this place better than anyone else. What do you think we could improve? His eyes narrowed thoughtfully. It starts with embracing what makes this diner a cornerstone of the community. But we could expand the menu, get some local ingredients, and maybe host weekly events. Events? She echoed, raising an eyebrow. Like what? Live music, maybe trivia nights? Something that keeps folks coming back. We could even get local artists to showcase their work. It'd bring in foot traffic and celebrate your diner's spirit. Sarah leaned against the counter, contemplating. His ideas were bold, but she could also hear Betty's warning in the back of her mind. Sounds great, but what about keeping the essence? I don't want to lose the heart of this place. Ethan nodded vigorously. I totally get that. The heart is crucial. We just build around it, not take it away. You're the pulse here, Sarah. It's about enhancing and expanding, not redoing everything. As she watched him, something deep in her chest shifted. It felt like an invitation to let her guard down. They could be partners in this venture. Could they really make a difference together? Just then, the door swung open, and in walked a newcomer, a stern-looking woman with sharp features and a determined stride. The chatter in the diner faltered. Those who noticed exchanged curious glances. Sarah felt a tight knot form in her stomach. Identify yourselves, the woman said, her gaze flitting to Ethan and then to Sarah. A chill ran through the air. I need to speak to the owner. I'm Sarah, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Good, the woman said, ignoring Ethan. I hear there's been a new investment proposal for this diner. I want to discuss how it could affect your establishment. You might not want to take on too much risk. Ethan opened his mouth to speak, but Sarah shot him a look that said to hold back. I'm not saying yes to anything just yet, she affirmed, the warmth from earlier quickly fading. If you're making changes, you need to be aware of the landscape you're entering. There's a lot at stake in this town, and newcomers aren't always welcome. The woman warned, punctuating her words with a firm nod. Remember that. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving a tense silence hanging in the air. Sarah's heart raced. What was that all about? Ethan leaned closer, concern washing over his features. Who is she? I don't know, Sarah replied, feeling unsettled. But it seems like she knows something we don't. Ethan's brow furrowed with determination. We'll figure it out together. We have to stay proactive. But the unease lingered. What had she stumbled into? How deep did the complications of this plan run? The walls of her diner suddenly felt like they were closing in, making her heart pound with worry and uncertainty. Could they truly take this leap? Or was it a leap into a web of troubles? A shiver of apprehension washed over her. The diner was their home, but what if this stranger had connections that could upend everything? With every question spinning in her mind, she knew one thing: as long as they moved forward, they'd need each other more than ever. But could they trust Ethan to keep this venture from becoming a disaster? Sarah wiped the countertop, her hands moving mechanically as her mind raced. The diner felt smaller somehow, the walls inching closer, suffocating her thoughts. Ethan seemed to sense her turmoil. Hey, he said softly. Whatever that woman said, it doesn't have to define us. His confidence was a warm blanket, but shadows clawed at the edges of her resolve. We're in this together, he reminded her, reaching out and placing his hand over hers. It was a small gesture, but it sent a jolt through her as she met his gaze. The determination in his eyes flickered something inside her. Maybe they could fight whatever storm was brewing. Maybe they could turn it into something beautiful. Let us focus on the plans we discussed, Sarah said, her voice steadier now. We create our own destiny, right? Exactly, Ethan replied, his excitement igniting the room again. Let us not let fear dictate our moves. The community is counting on us to keep this place alive and thriving. The morning crowd spilled over with banter and laughter, soaking up the familiar comfort of the diner. She felt a knot of hope unfurl in her chest. Perhaps, just perhaps, they could ring in change without losing what made this space a home for so many. But just as that feeling took root, the bell above the door chimed again. A man entered, rugged and charming, with an air of confidence that drew everyone's attention. He scanned the room before his eyes landed on Sarah. Hi there, he said, approaching the counter with an easy grin. I just moved to town and heard this place had the best breakfast around. Welcome. I can assure you our pancakes are worth the hype, Sarah replied, her nerves shifting to intrigue. She couldn't help but notice Ethan's curious stare directed at this newcomer. What's your name? Jake, he replied, leaning slightly against the counter. So what's the best on the menu? Before she could respond, Ethan interjected, we make a mean eggs benedict if you're feeling fancy. The banter seemed loaded with competition. Sarah could feel the shift in the atmosphere. Both men vying for attention, the newcomer with his charisma and Ethan with his steady comfort. Sounds good. I'll have that and a coffee, Jake nodded. As Sarah turned to prepare the order, her thoughts danced between the excitement of possibility and the weight of warning. Was she ready for this? An investment proposal looming over them, and now a steady stream of attention that might either bolster their plans or derail them completely. Ethan's voice broke through her tangled thoughts. Maybe we should be thought of hosting a welcome event for newcomers like Jake? He shot a sideways glance toward the new customer, whose cheerful demeanor seemed to wrap around the diner like a warm embrace. Yeah, maybe, Sarah agreed, though the anxiety prickled again. Could they really expand not only their business but also their community, while keeping their core intact? Jake continued chatting casually with Ethan, revealing bits about himself, recent work and aspirations that made the atmosphere sparkle with enthusiasm. Sarah felt drawn to his ambition, but doubts crept in. Why did he choose this moment to come into her diner? What connection did he have to the woman from before? The familiar sound of plates clattering and coffee brewing mixed with the laughter in the air. Yet a whisper of tension hid beneath, a reminder of the stakes they all faced. As she placed the food down in front of Jake, She noticed he locked eyes with her in a way that sent a flutter through her heart. "Thank you, Sarah," he smiled. "I look forward to coming here more often." The warmth in his tone made her pulse quicken. She couldn't help but wonder, was he a fleeting distraction, a possible ally, or something deeper? Once again, uncertainty loomed. What did she really know about him? With every conversation that flowed in the diner, the undercurrents of this new reality swirled around her. Having Ethan at her side felt right, but could she trust a newcomer when the risks were so unknown? A subtle thread connected all of them, and she realized change was coming. But at what cost? That thought loomed as heavy as the clinking of cutlery. Whatever game was in motion, she needed to protect her heart and her diner. Suddenly the bell chimed again, pulling her focus. A man stood at the door, staring at her with a familiar intensity. The heartbeat of the diner quieted, uncertain. "Sarah, we need to talk," the man behind the door said, tension rippling in the air. What new reality was awaiting her now? The atmosphere shifted, electricity crackling as Sarah's heart raced. The man at the door was someone she never expected to see again. Tom. Her ex. The one who had left without a trace, vanishing into the fold of an opportunity that had promised him everything. Now he stood there, cutting through the laughter and clatter of the diner like a knife. "Not here," she whispered urgently, glancing around. She could feel Ethan's eyes boring into her, questioning, concerned. But she couldn't let this play out in front of the customers. "Please, Sarah. Just a moment." His voice held a mixture of urgency and something softer, something she struggled to place. She shook her head slightly, her mind a whirlpool of emotions. Memories of trust intertwined with betrayal clung to her like grease on the grill. "Can't this wait?" "No. It can't," he insisted, stepping closer, his body tense with anxiety. "I had to find you. It's important." The slight smile she had shared with Jake faltered as he turned, catching the sudden tension in the air as if it was a tangible thing. The din around them seemed to fade. Ethan, sensing the shift, moved closer, his brow furrowing in concern. "Is everything okay?" he asked, looking between her and Tom. "Yeah, just an old friend," Sarah replied, forcing a smile that didn't carry weight. But Ethan didn't buy it. She felt his protective energy surging, ready to shield her from whatever storm was coming. Jake, noticing the stoic tension, stood up, securing his coffee cup in front of him. "If there's an issue, maybe I should step out." His voice was calm, but Sarah could see the curiosity fueling his eyes. She didn't want that. She didn't want any more complications. "No," she said, her voice rising slightly. "Everyone, it's fine." Just she turned back to Tom, who was now clenching his jaw. "You should go. I'm busy." It was an attempt at annoyance, but deep down her resolve was cracking. "Sarah," he urged softly, stepping closer yet again. "I'm not leaving until you hear what I have to say." "It can't wait." Ethan took her hand, squeezing it gently as if the physical touch could ground her in something solid. She met his eyes, searching for a lifeboat in the rising tide of memories and confusion that threatened to pull her under. Tom's presence was like a ghost haunting her. How had this moment arrived? How had everything crumbled during his last week here? She felt torn in two. The diner felt like an anchor, but the past threatened to drown her. "I can't believe you're back," she said finally, her voice low, almost choked. "You disappeared. I don't think you have the right to barge in here like this." He flinched at her words, and she watched as guilt flashed across his face. "I know, but there's something I need you to understand." As he spoke, the noise of clattering dishes and laughter resumed around them, but to Sarah it felt distant. A whirlwind of emotions collided inside her: hurt, anger, and a flicker of hope. Could she trust him again? Or was this just a trick of fate? A storm brewing yet again? "Just come somewhere private," she finally relented, nodding to a back booth that offered at least a semblance of privacy. As they stepped away, she felt Ethan's eyes on her, full of concern and confusion. But the thought of Tom's words weighed heavily on her heart. What could he possibly want from her? And was she ready to face the truth of what he had been hiding? She took a deep breath. The shadows of the past loomed large, and the presence of Jake, with that underlying curiosity, left her feeling exposed. "What are you not telling me?" she whispered when they were far enough away from prying ears. Tom's gaze hardened, and as he opened his mouth to speak, she could only brace herself for the unexpected twist he was about to deliver. Sarah. There is something you need to know about my departure, he stammered. It's not what you think. And it's about the woman from before. A new wave of anxiety washed over her. Did his return bring answers or more questions? Whatever it was, her heart raced with uncertainty. What truth would unravel next? The booth was cramped, a small world where every breath felt heavy with unspoken words. Sarah's heart raced as Tom slid onto the worn vinyl seat across from her. She could feel the weight of the diner outside, the laughter, clanking dishes and murmurs all fading, leaving just the two of them suspended in their bubble of tension. Why are you back, Tom? Her voice was steadier than she felt. What do you want from me? He ran a hand through his hair, a familiar gesture that pulled at the edges of her memory. I need you to hear me out. It's complicated. Complicated how? Sarah asked, crossing her arms defensively. She was done with excuses and mysteries. Part of her wanted to scream at him for all the pain his disappearance had caused, for all the unanswered questions that led to sleepless nights. After I left, things didn't go as planned. I was caught up in a situation. There were things I couldn't tell you, things to protect you. I thought I was doing the right thing, he confessed, his eyes searching hers for understanding. Protect me? She laughed bitterly. Leaving without a word felt a lot like abandonment. What could possibly justify that? Tom's jaw tightened, and for a moment, the nostalgia mingled with her anger. I didn't want to pull you into my mess. The woman, he hesitated, a shadow passing over his features. She was connected to something dangerous. Sarah leaned in, trying to catch every nuance of his expression. Dangerous how? Drug trade, he said, his voice lowering like it was something to keep secret from the very walls of the diner. I was helping my dad. I thought I could handle it, until it spiraled out of control. I didn't want you to know, he added, a pained look on his face. The weight of his confession pressed down on her. So you just disappeared? You left me to pick up the pieces after everything? Didn't you think I had the right to know? He looked away, shame washing over him. I wanted to keep you safe. I thought it was better this way. But now I realize I should have trusted you. I never wanted to hurt you, but things went sideways fast. I couldn't come back, Sarah. I was in over my head. And now you just waltz back in like nothing happened? Everything's different, Tom. People have moved on. Part of her wished that newfound anger could slice through the displeasure she felt for having him here. Ethan's presence flitted in her mind, the way he reached for her hand earlier, a tangible show of support. But now she felt isolated, trapped between the past and what she might lose if she took a step toward Tom. Is there anything else I should know? She pressed, her breath hitching slightly at the thought of the weight of more secrets pressing down on her. Tom hesitated, the silence stretching like an elastic band ready to snap. He swallowed hard. There's one more thing, Sarah, one more reason I came back. I didn't just return for closure. Her stomach twisted. What do you mean? They're still looking for me. The people I got involved with. They don't let go easily. And it could put you in danger. Her heart dropped. You can't be serious. I am. I wouldn't have come back if I didn't think I could protect you, but I need your help. I need to know if you're with me. The room began spinning. With you. Give me a chance to explain everything. To make things right. Just trust me. As she stared into his pleading eyes, doubt clashed with a flicker of hope. Could she really trust him again? And more importantly, could she handle whatever was coming? The diner buzzed around them, oblivious to the storm brewing in that cramped booth. Her pulse raced, caught between the past she thought she had moved on from, and the future she suddenly couldn't predict. Will you hear me out? Tom pressed, leaning forward, desperation etched on his face. Why should I? But the rest of her question was lost in the chaos of her thoughts. The weight of his revelation hung there, pulling her in, and she realized that saying yes could lead her down unexpected paths. Would she have the courage to take the leap and face what awaited them both? Just as the possible answers swirled in her mind, she could sense her heart breaking free of its anchor. Would this time be different? What if it wasn't just about us? He asked quietly, as if sensing the shift in her thoughts. What if it's bigger than that? That's when Sarah realized the confrontation ahead could change everything. Disguise. The words hung heavily between them. Sarah could feel her throat tighten as she instinctively pulled back, shielding herself from the gravity of Tom's implications. His gaze turned sharper, as if he were measuring her reaction, waiting for her heart to decide. What do you mean? She finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I mean, he continued, impatience creeping into his tone, that my return isn't just about us. There are people out there who could hurt you because of what I got involved with. They want something from me, and if I don't handle it, you could become collateral damage. A tremor of fear ran through her. Could this really be happening? Her mind flared with images of Ethan, his reassuring smile. The comfort he provided, a stark contrast to the chaos Tom had dragged back into her life. How could you let this happen? She snapped, frustration igniting tears at the corners of her eyes. You think you're protecting me, but you only made it worse. Tom flinched, the defensiveness washing over his features like a storm cloud. I know, Sarah. I know I messed up. But I can't change what happened. I can only try to fix it. There's a reason I came back, and it wasn't to just drop more chaos in your life. I need your help to get out of this alive. The realization hit her hard. Trusting him again wouldn't just mean rekindling their past. It meant diving headfirst into an uncertain future, one that could spiral into danger. Yet the desperation in his eyes pulled at her heartstrings, a fierce reminder of the bond they once shared. Just tell me what you need me to do, she said, her voice trembling, becoming steadier with each word. First, let me explain everything about Maria. She's part of this whole web. His voice softened as he spoke her name. I didn't think it was serious at first. I thought I could keep you out of it. But she's connected to the cartel. It's worse than I ever imagined, and now they think I've betrayed them. Sarah swallowed hard, taking in his words. The stakes were higher than ever. Could she walk that line between protecting her heart and protecting herself from real danger? I can't just jump in, she replied, a wave of panic rushing over her. What if they find me? What if this puts Ethan in danger? He doesn't deserve to be sucked into this mess. Tom's shoulders slumped slightly, but he held his ground. I get it. He's been good to you, but you have to decide what you want. If you want to walk away from all of this and never look back, I'll understand. But it won't be that simple. You'll always be tied to me whether you like it or not. His words hung in the air, the double-edged truth slicing through her. Tom was right. No matter how many times she tried to bury the past, it always crept back, promising to haunt her in the most unexpected ways. As she stared at him, a plan began to form. Okay, she said, gathering her courage. But if we're doing this, I'm doing it on my terms. I want to know everything, no more secrets. Tom's eyes looked hopeful, yet shadows of doubt lingered. I won't lie to you again. Promise. The moment felt crucial. Their eyes locked in a plea for honesty. In that cramped booth beneath the flickering diner lights, their lives had intersected once more. But as the tension seeped into the air, she felt a chill run down her spine. Would this path lead them to victory or to tragedy? The stakes were higher than ever, and she could already feel the tremors of change beginning to stir. Tonight, Sarah said, fueled by something primal she hadn't felt in years. We'll figure this out tonight. With that, she stood, pushing back her chair with a resolve she found surprising. She had effectively stepped onto a precipice, and as much as she feared what lay ahead, the adrenaline of uncertainty rushed through her veins. Where do we start? She asked, a new determination building inside her. Tom smiled, a hint of disbelief mixing with hope. We start by finding out who's still on my trail. As they stepped out into the night, under a sky painted with stars dimmed by a single streetlight, Sarah stole a quick glance back at the diner, feeling the weight of her choices bearing down like a storm on the horizon. What awaited them on the other side? But deep inside, she knew one truth she couldn't turn back. What if this time the risk would lead them both to a freedom they never dared to dream of? The night brought a tense silence as Sarah and Tom stepped out of the diner, the weight of uncertainty clinging tightly to the air. The familiar streets, once a canvas of laughter and warmth, now felt like a maze of shadows where danger lurked unseen. Yet, a flicker of resolve ignited in Sarah's heart. She was ready to confront her past for the sake of her future. Where do we start? Sarah asked, glancing at Tom. She watched him closely, reading the tension in his posture, the nervous energy crackling in the air between them. Follow me, he said, his voice steady but urgent. Their footsteps echoed in the empty street, a rhythm that matched the racing of her heart. With each step, she felt a mix of fear and adrenaline, as if she were straddling the line between danger and hope, ready to jump into the unknown. They arrived at Tom's car, parked a few blocks from the diner. I have a contact who might know what's happening. They're connected to the people I got involved with. This could give us the lead we need, he explained while unlocking the vehicle. She nodded, swallowing hard. And what if this contact leads us to trouble? We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, he replied, determination making him braver than she felt. The drive was short but filled with tension. Lights from street lamps flickered overhead, casting fleeting shadows across Tom's face. It was a face she once knew inside out but now felt like a stranger's. All those memories of laughter, warmth, and unguarded moments bubbled to the surface, mixing uneasily with the weight of his betrayal. As they reached their destination, a rundown cafe on the edge of town, her heart thumped heavily. This place is exactly what I expected from your past. She teased lightly to mask her nerves. With a nervous smile, he replied, it's not much, but it's safe enough. Let us just hope he knows something useful. As they walked in, the smell of burnt coffee and stale pastries hung in the air, like a ghost from another time. They moved to a corner table, and Tom signaled to a tall, scruffy man behind the counter. Over there, Tom said, nodding toward the man. That's Benny. If anyone knows what's happening, it's him. Are you sure he'll talk? Sarah's voice wavered, uncertainty creeping in around the edges of her bravado. He will. Just let me do the talking. They approached Benny, tension thickening in the air. Tom introduced Sarah, his expression shifting to an intense focus. As Tom delved into their past, Sarah remained on high alert, waiting for the slightest hint of trouble. She scanned the room, feeling as if eyes were on her, and the hairs on her neck prickled. We need info on the cartel connections, Tom said, the urgency palpable. You know who's been after me? Benny's brows furrowed, concern etched deep in his features. This ain't safe business, Tom. You're playing with fire. You don't want the spotlight on you or her. I know, but I can't run anymore. I need to know if they're still coming after me. After Sarah, he replied firmly. The moment hung, the air growing heavier. Benny tapped the table, deep in thought before finally nodding. I've heard whispers. They're not just looking for you, they're looking for anyone connected to you. Stay low, understand? Sarah's heart raced at the sound of the warning. She glanced at Tom, his expression a mixture of regret and fierce determination. Is there a way out? She pressed, her voice rising above the cafe's background noise. Benny hesitated before replying, you've got to be smart, think ahead. Find a way to cut ties or put a spotlight on them before they can move. Play it out in the open, force them to react. Make it uncomfortable for them. Force them. Tom repeated, confusion and disbelief flashing across his face. That's asking for trouble. But it's better than hiding in the shadows, Benny shot back. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but it's your best shot. As they walked back to the car, Sarah felt a sense of clarity form. We need to tell Ethan, she said suddenly, turning to Tom. He must know what we're facing. Are you sure? Tom countered, hint of fear in his eyes. You think he can handle this? You think I should involve him? If we're going to face this together, we can't keep secrets, she replied, the weight of her decision steadying her resolve. I want to go through this alone. Okay, but you need to prepare him. This is going to get messy, Tom warned, his voice serious. I'm ready for messy. I've lived it for too long, she replied, determination washing over her. Back at the diner, warmth enveloped them like a familiar embrace. That same comforting aroma of coffee and the clatter of dishes greeted her. But everything felt different as they stepped inside. Ethan stood behind the counter, his friendly smile turning to concern as he met her eyes. Sarah. I was starting to worry, he admitted, closing the distance between them. Tom shifted nervously, unsure of how to collapse the space between them. We need to talk. It's important, Sarah said, gesturing him to join them as they settled into a booth. She felt the electricity in the air. Tom shared what they learned from Benny, and she watched Ethan's expression shift from confusion to concern to focus. People are looking for you, Sarah. You didn't say it would get this serious, he remarked, his voice holding an edge of worry that pulled at her heart. I didn't know, she said, surprised by the tears pooling in her eyes. But I want you involved. I don't want you to be a bystander while I face this. Ethan's gaze softened, and he reached for her hand, enveloping it in his strong grasp. We face it together, right? I'm not going anywhere. Tom watched the connection with a mix of admiration and remorse, understanding why he couldn't have come back earlier. They sat in silence for a moment, molecules of tension shooting through the air, each heartbeat heavy with the weight of their situation. So what's our plan? Ethan finally asked, his voice steady. No hiding, Sarah said, surprising herself with her own strength. We put this out in the open and make them uncomfortable. I can back you on that, Tom added, nodding. We can mobilize and draw them out, the only way for us to reclaim our lives. As they formed a plan together, Sarah felt hope bubbling up within her, each word a step toward liberation. They were three scattered souls now united, forged by the flames of challenge. A team, a family, and no matter the looming dangers, they would face whatever came next together. After the plan was solidified, Sarah felt lighter, more grounded. Together they were ready to transform their lives, even in the face of chaos. With renewed determination written across her face, Sarah looked at each of them, knowing they were on the brink of something greater than themselves. Let us declare our independence, she whispered, excitement spilling from her heart. And in that moment, with the air charged with possibility, they made a pact to reclaim their future, come what may. Change was coming, and this time they would embrace it, not run from it. As the night settled into a warm, starry blanket outside, their hearts intertwined with a silent promise, a collective strength rooted in vulnerability and bravery. No more hiding, no more secrets, but an embrace of destiny that awaited them all. The world outside might have been chaotic, but around that diner table, they carved out a haven of hope. Together they would rise. Now Sarah's earlier doubts were gone. Starting fresh was possible. She felt ready for whatever awaited them. It was time for a new beginning. And the dawn would rise anew as it always did, bringing with it a day full of promise, connections, and love. As they left the diner, arm in arm, Sarah could finally breathe alive, determined and ready. In that small town, they would remind everyone that love and resilience were worth fighting for. The small diner, her life, everything was theirs to protect. Each step forward echoed with the playful laughter of tomorrow, shining brighter than the stars above. With their hearts aligned, they would face storms together. And nothing could break their spirit. Now was the moment to rise, and nothing would stop them as they forged ahead together. Don't wait, not even one more second. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will change your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for these inspiring transformations. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation story and rally support around them. This is the moment to join us on this journey. Make your voice heard and help spread the message.